And eventually, we're also supporting families through prayer, organizing prayer sessions with our community, and advocating for the dignity of people in detention, and both who are separated and who are outside of detention as well.
Well, Sandra, I think today we are doing a good job of presenting both sides of the immigration issue. We just heard from officials out there in Minneapolis. Now, the other side of the coin is the effect on the migrants. And in this case, we're not just talking about the migrant communities per se. We're talking in general about the Catholic community in the United States, which is heavily Hispanic, and it's also to some degree immigrant. A lot of members of Catholic congregations all across the country are either Hispanic or straight up immigrants from all over the world. And that has to do with the campaign that Hope Border is bringing to public light this week. Although I understand the campaign began a few weeks ago, perhaps in December. Jesus, I wanted to ask you specifically, this campaign, you already stated the principles that guide Hope Border Institute's involvement in the community. Can you talk specifically about this campaign, which is called Catholic Impact, with double M's for immigration?
Correct. Yes, thank you so much, Julian. With Catholic Impact is our new collaboration with the Center for Migration Studies of New York. And we're trying to do a couple of simple things. We are trying to encourage and train diocesan leaders, including bishops, to respond to this issue and the drama of the attack on human dignity that we are seeing, especially against migrants, but not only migrants, also citizens, people of color, and other people who are being affected by this campaign. We are trying to empower them with supporting organizing their communities, organizing their diocese, organizing prayer events and public witness events, advocating and talking to people and understanding what their needs are, and bringing their voices to elected officials and decision makers so they can hear directly from people what is happening to them, and eventually also with rapid response with places and raids, as we have seen in multiple locations in the country so far.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the rapid response because dioceses like El Paso, here where we are, they're very active. They've always been very active, very vocal, and the diocese in the big cities as well. I mean, I remember the response in Chicago, for instance. However, the raids are hitting communities all over the country, and I understand that there might be some smaller dioceses that don't have the resources or the experience that we on the border or people or the church in big cities has with the immigrant issue. So this program, this Catholic Impact, I understand consists of a response that includes making available community organizers from hubs, perhaps like El Paso, perhaps like Chicago, to this smaller diocese. What are those community organizers going to do? And also, I understand that you're making available communication specialists, so the communication specialists can help the smaller dioceses or the parishes, be more eloquent in why they are stepping up to defend their congregation. Can you tell us about that?
Correct. Yeah, and I want to clarify that we haven't been involved in any of these rapid response efforts yet. But the idea is that we can bring our expertise, our colleagues, those community organizers that you mentioned, our communication experts to support dioceses in how to respond when these things happen, when they see an increasing tension in the community, when they see families being separated, when they see that people cannot go to mass because they are in fear. How can you respond to that? And we have seen it in multiple dioceses so far, and multiple bishops showing and shining an example. They have shown support to the migrants. They have called to peace, something that Pope Leo has again and again called us. We need peace, and we need peace in our communities. They have also supported people through different events like masses and prayer vigils and creating funds to support legal assistance. And eventually they have also advocated for people in these situations. So it's basically helping the diocese and the bishops find the resources they need, provide them with the expertise that we have, the support that we can provide to them, and eventually help them strengthen their response to the current situation so we can be prophetic, we can bring peace, and eventually we can find a new way forward.
Yes, speaking of the response, what is the recommendation about the response? What should the response be?
Well, for us, it's very clear. We need to call to a de-escalation. We need to call to peace. We need to call to the fact that migrants' dignity has to be respected in every policy and every action. It's very important that we keep reminding ourselves that migrants have dignity as anyone else, and therefore their rights and their lives have to be protected and have to be respected. So that's the main principle right now. That's the main fundamental issue that we need to do, and eventually we need to accompany people in these spiritual wounds. Sometimes when they cannot go to mass, when they cannot get to their community, people are severely impacted, especially children and other people, and so accompany them in those wounds and help them find the relief that they need. And eventually, we know that the law needs to change. That's the main issue. The law hasn't been updated in for too long, and we need to seek change in that realm as well.
Mr. De La
Yes, one
Torre, we're talking to you, the head of the Hope Border Institute. You mentioned Pope Leo. I want to come back to that. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Border Report Live will be right back. Welcome back to Border Report Live. I'm Sandra Sanchez. Speaking with Julian Resendez, our correspondent in El Paso, and we're talking with Jesus de la Torre. He is the Assistant Director for Global Migration at Hope Border Institute in El Paso. Mr. de la Torre, you mentioned Pope Leo. I wanted to ask you, a couple months ago, your organization, as well as Bishop Signs, actually presented a letter to Pope Leo talking about migration and immigration. And can you tell us what was in that letter, and how has that impacted the actions that you're taking today?
Yeah, absolutely. The letter compiled the letters of more than 100 people, hundreds of migrants across the country, migrants from different parts like LA, North Carolina, El Paso, and other parts. And we basically asked migrants what were they feeling and what would they like us to do. And their responses were very clear. Many people were in fear, many people were suffering, but many people remain in hope that we could do something differently, that we could get immigration reform passed, that we could get some dignified treatment to their relatives and to themselves. And they ask Pope Leo for his prayers and for his support. And that's why we brought those letters to Pope Leo. And Pope Leo, he listened to those stories, he listened to the voices, he read the letter in a video format that we presented to him. And he was very clear that the church cannot remain silent in this moment, that the church has to be prophetic in defending human dignity of migrants and of all those who are vulnerable and all those who are fleeing persecution or are fleeing situations of danger or they are seeking better opportunities.
Jesus, your organization does work, like myself, on both sides of the border. I wanted to ask you, what is the current situation with migrants on either side of our border here in the Southwest?
What we see right now on the Mexican side of the border is people who are still in need of protection. They are waiting in Mexico, most of them. They are trying to get documentation in Mexico with a lot of challenges because things are not working properly in many of the institutions that are supposed to give them the documentation over there. We also see families who are trying to find jobs, who are trying to secure housing, who are trying to take their kids to school. So they are struggling. Many families are struggling. Some people are being victims of kidnapping and other forms of violence. So they are not safe, and that must be very clear. Many people are not safe where they are right now in Mexico, and they are still in need of protection. And on the U.S. side, I think all of us, we know it very well. It's the same feeling of fear. It's the same feeling that you can be separated from your kids from one day to another, that going to work can mean your last day in the United States in some cases.
Yes, on last Friday, the county judge in El Paso was talking about this fear not only applying to migrants, to undocumented migrants, but also to legal migrants, people who have, quote, their papers, and as well as some U.S. citizens who are being approached and asked for their papers whenever ICE goes to do a raid in a place where they have received information there might be immigrants.
Yeah, and I think this is a story that unfortunately is too well known at the border. The issue of racial profiling, the border, if you remember, if our listeners and viewers know, protections against racial profiling started at the border, precisely because citizens and other migrants with legal status and other people were being profiled and detained. And so this is an issue that we've long suffered at the border. And regardless of whether you have a status or not, you can be targeted, and that's a huge problem as well. Especially if we consider that many people are also losing their legal status because the administration is canceling or not renewing TPS, temporary protected status, or even parole, which means people who legally access the country through a port of entry are losing their status and they could be deported, even sometimes to their countries.
Yes, going back to Pope Leo and the meeting with the Hope Order Institute officials, what is the Pope specifically asking Catholics in the United States to do in connection with this ongoing immigration crisis?
The Pope has been very clear. He's been very clear in multiple occasions, not just in our meeting. He said it publicly as well. He supported the bishops' statement, the United States bishops. They issued a strong statement against mass deportations and calling for the respect of the dignity of migrants and for sure also to support new laws. So the Pope has really spoken in favor of the dignity of migrants in balancing this right of managing border, but at the same time seeing the needs of the most vulnerable and ensuring that our laws are centered in those needs, in the needs of the people who need protection and who eventually have lived in the U.S. for very long time, contributed to the society for a very long time, and now they see how they can be taken apart and sent to countries that sometimes they don't even know. So he's been very clear, he's been very prophetic, and we are sure that he's going to continue to denounce the abuses and also calling for reconciliation and just laws.
Jesus, where can Catholics learn more information about the Catholic Impact Campaign? Sandra, I believe we have a graphic, if we can show it, please.
So
yeah, go ahead.
And in the meantime, if people want to connect, we're very excited to work with anyone with Catholics, especially. But we are also engaging with other actors, interfaith people, and people from different sectors. So people can reach out and ask questions. They can go to our webpage, hopeborder.org, and they can find also the email where they can contact us for Catholic Impact. And as we said, this is a national project with the Center for Migration Studies, and we hope to keep supporting dioceses, bishops, Catholics, and people of faith in putting their faith into action and taking care of the stranger.
Jesus de la Torre with Hope Border Institute. Again, it's hopeborder.org for more information. You can also read about it on borderreport.com. Julian, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mr. de la Torre. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. Border Report Live will be right back. Welcome back. Before we let you go, we want to tell you about a border tent that is gone. All along the U.S.-Mexico border, volunteers have helped migrants as they make their way into this country. Well, a tent that was used as an aid station to help migrants in Southern California was destroyed by recent storms. As our Salvador Rivera tells us, the tent provided food, water, and basic first aid material for migrants along the Tijuana-San Diego border.
For years, volunteers working out of these tents provided coffee, snacks, water, even basic medical care to thousands of asylum seekers in the San Diego-Tijuana area between two border barriers. Even a phone charging station was made available to the migrants, but it's all gone.
I would describe it as just being an end of an era.
Pedro Rios is with the American-French Service Committee, which operated the tents and coordinated the volunteers. The canopies, along with these bottles of sanitizer and other items, are now in a dumpster.
It's a little eerie coming back to this location where volunteers provided so much water and food and met the needs of people that were crossing into the U.S.
The tent was destroyed by a recent storm. Federal contractors came by and took what was left over, placing those items in the dumpster.
It's a little bit of a sad story to see how the items that we use to support and help people are just dumped into the dumpster. It doesn't mean that what we did here has disappeared. We have our history, our memories. It's my conclusion that the volunteers here saved the lives of people that were in extremely hazardous and desperate situations.
Rios says over time, they help thousands of migrants from all over the world.
Very few Mexicans arrived here, but there were people from South America, from Central America, from the Caribbean, from African countries, from Eastern European bloc countries, from Asian countries. This was one of at least 13 different sites along the San Diego-Tijuana corridor where Border Patrol agents were forcing people to remain for hours and in some cases days. There were instances here where I remember people from Afghanistan, men were forced to wait for 7 days. We recognize that had we not been here and provided that aid, people likely would have died. It was overwhelming at times. I believe that we did our best.
Rios says if the need arises, they will be back. Salvador Rivera, Border Report.
And you can read all of Salvador's stories as well as stories from myself and Julian on borderreport.com. Now, before we let you go, we're going to tell you that Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is scheduled to visit northern Mexico this weekend. She's supposed to visit the border town of Reynosa in the state of Tamaulipas on Saturday. That's just across from McAllen, and she will take part in a program for women. She's also scheduled to go to Nuevo Leon on Sunday, but we're getting weather, so we'll keep you updated. We'll see if she does that. From Border Report Live, I'm Sandra Sanchez. Take care.
Right, this is going to be a multi-day event with the storm lasting into the weekend and the Marnie record cold continuing probably the rest of next week. So that's going to lock the snow and ice in place across these parts of the country that are going to be hit hard. I haven't really seen a map like this before where you see so much territory covered in winter storm and extreme cold alerts from the Canada border down to the Gulf, the Rockies, all the way to the eastern seaboard. Wide swath of the country impacted by this significant storm that's going to be unfolding through the day, picking up intensity by this time tomorrow. Above me, you can see it's just rainfall. As we check out the view from Dallas, our Earth camera network. So I don't really expect the biggest impacts for our Friday. It's really this evening through overnight, and especially by Saturday morning, we're going to be seeing that thick layer of ice start to develop across the Red River Valley, like in Dallas, North Texas, southern Oklahoma, into the Arklatex region as well, with widespread snow as we look at areas into the plains and east towards the Midwest, like impacting Missouri. This all tears eastward. So by Sunday morning, look how expansive this precipitation shield is. Widespread snow through the southern Great Lakes, reaching New York City, D.C., that mixed with ice into the mid-Atlantic, like the Virginias, back towards the Appalachian Mountains. Even Atlanta now looking like an ice storm is more threatening than it was over the past couple of days forecast. Mid-Mississippi River Valley and even Dallas by Sunday at daybreak still seeing that icy threat. So a long-lived impact with snow continuing into the northeast by Monday evening. So that's finally when all this starts to move offshore. How about the totals? Look at this. We'll start with the snow. A widespread foot expected for a 2,000-mile stretch from the panhandle of Texas all the way through the northeast. D.C., New York could close in on a foot of snow, their biggest system, as we heard the mayor say there, in about a decade. And we're going to be seeing snow consistently falling for about 24 hours and heavy snow rates and breezy conditions causing near whiteouts at times, certainly making for tough travel. The ice, though, is the worst of this. Of course, that's where you have the accretion that will pile up, stick to the power lines and trees, and cause those power outages to be widespread. That could last for days. And, of course, that cold is locked in place. Dangerous to impossible travel, likely. The worst of that, North Texas, Dallas through Arkansas, the mid-Mississippi River Valley, like northern Mississippi into Tennessee, and then another bullseye, Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh, up towards D.C. as well, could get more of that icing concern. So, Marnie, a widespread effect here with this winter storm taking shape. It's going to rival the 2021 winter storm that slammed Texas, put their power grid to the test once again. And again, just widespread impacts. Can't stress it enough. This is going to be a blockbuster storm system just developing today, really taking hold this weekend through Monday.
Yeah, that ice storm in Texas, one of the deadliest weather events they have had. All right, Max, thank you for the warning.
There have been instances where ambulances couldn't get through, buses couldn't get through, streets were not plowed, so that Some streets, like for example at the De Blasio, some streets were plowed to the tar, and then other places didn't get plowed at all. So do you have a plan to make sure that there's equal plowing in all 5 boroughs so that no community can say, you missed us?
Yes. We absolutely do. And that's part of the conversation we were just having. New Yorkers can actually stay up to date. I think it's with Plow NYC, which is the public-facing information portal around the plowing patterns across the city. Internally, we have something called Blade Runner 2.0. And this is to ensure that no New Yorker is made to feel that depending on the zip code or their neighborhood, they're going to receive a different level of service. You're going to receive the same level of service across the city. And I think the other portion of this is we're talking about, with DSNY, the largest snow fighting operation in the entire country. We're talking about the transformation of collection trucks into ones that can both salt this city. We're talking about 700 of those trucks, and then we're talking about 2,200 plows. So all of this together, it's what gives me the confidence that we're going to see a city that will meet the moment, no matter if it's 8 inches of snow, 13 inches of snow. I will say that one thing that a number of New Yorkers have shared with me is we seem to have large snowstorms every 10 years. It was 96, it was 06, it was 16, it's 26. We're going to be ready.
Hey there, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Just 2 questions. At what point do you declare a state of emergency because of the snow? Where are the markers for yourself and for the folks at the podium? Like, where is that point where you decide it's a state of emergency? And also, can you go into depth as to what the NYPD and what FDNY would also be doing at those times, and even like what 311 or 911 operations are going to be?
So I can just tell you briefly, and then I'll pass it over to Deputy Mayor Kirsten. Just in advance of this weekend, we also know that NYPD is going to be assisting with some of the traffic routing operations that we'll see across the city. Every single agency and department is going to be playing a role. You know, for example, DSNY is taking the lead on the snow plowing, but that doesn't mean that the Parks Department is not also going to be assisting in some of that work. I'm going to pass it over to DM Kirsten for some of the additional.
All right, so this storm, 230 million are in the path of this winter storm, some already calling it catastrophic with the snow totals that are expected, ice, and then, of course, the negative temperatures with all of the wind chill. All right, we continue to get ready for this big winter storm. Washington, D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser talking right now about their preparations, also declaring a state of emergency with the snow. Let's listen.
And what you're up to, and if you need help. And you can always call us if you need help. So with that, let me turn to Anthony Crispino, who is the director of DPW. He will be followed by the general manager for DC Metro, and Randy Clark. And Randy will be followed by the CEO of Pepco, Tyler Anthony, and they will be able to take a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to piggyback on what the mayor has said thus far. We are taking this storm very serious. The forecast is starting to firm up, so we have a better idea on what to expect in terms of snowfall. DPW and the snow team have been preparing for a storm somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 inches with potential for ice on the back end. So what our preparations have been is making sure that we have all the employees and equipment available to address the conditions.
All right, so getting ready in Washington, D.C. and all across the country, from Texas up through the Northeast, along the coastline, and through the Midwest. This is a big, big storm. Max just came over and told me that they have gone from watch to warning when it comes to the conditions in our nation's capital. And as you just heard, the forecast is firming up. This is going to be a cold storm, bringing a lot of snow, ice, and very frigid temperatures. Vice President Vance and House Speaker Mike Johnson among the featured speakers at this morning's event. It starts in just under an hour. After the rally on the Mall, people will then march to the Capitol and to the Supreme Court. Newsnation's Joe Khalil is there with some of the preparations underway. Joe, it's cold there, but I don't think it's going to stop anybody from hanging out.
Yeah, and I think so far we've gotten pretty lucky with the weather, actually. It's much warmer. I brought a big coat. I don't know that I needed the big coat. Marty, we are joined now by Jenny Bradley Lichter, who is the president of March for Life. So thank you so much for joining us, first of all. I just want to start off by asking, obviously this event, for those who are not familiar with it, How would you describe it? How would you explain it to those who, again, may not be so familiar as this crowd is?
Yeah. So the vibe, I guess, is something between an outdoor rock concert, a country music concert, and a political rally, I suppose, just in the sense that it's a huge outdoor event. It's full of young people in that way, unlike most political rallies. And the energy is just through the roof. I mean, it's an incredibly electrifying thing to be a part of, with a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, and the crowd is so engaged and so into it, and really just young people filling the National Mall as far as the eye can see. There is truly nothing. I answered your question the best I could, but the truth is, there is nothing like the March for Life. You have to experience it in person.
And so I think the largest pro-life event in the United States, certainly in the world, is that
as far as we know, this is the largest annual human rights event for any cause of any type in the world.
So today we are going to have, among other speakers, we'll hear the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, one of the more pro-life members of Congress, as self-proclaimed, and also Vice President Vance today. So how does that change the dynamic, other than that we've got Secret Service letting people in today and screening? To have the Vice President here, does that sort of elevate the event today relative to other years?
Yeah, it absolutely does. You know, last year, the Vice President chose the March for Life, deliberately chose the March for Life for his first major speech and his first public event after the inauguration. He stood on this stage and was so, I suppose, moved by what he experienced that he said, you know what, I'm going to come back. And so we're absolutely delighted that today he's keeping that promise and he's coming back to stand with our marchers and I anticipate speak from his own heart, especially with a baby on the way, about the cause of life and what it means and why we need to keep standing up for it.
Yeah, an interesting moment for him, as you mentioned, baby on the way here. So what do you expect to hear from him? He is obviously among other speakers. You're going to be up there as well, sort of emceeing everything. But is there a message that you are anticipating from the Vice President today?
I expect that he'll talk about some of the great policy announcements that we saw come out of the White House yesterday, and the VP will talk more about that, but that's ending fetal tissue research using aborted baby body parts. It's expanding the Mexico City policy to make sure U.S. taxpayer dollars aren't being used to fund abortions abroad, and it's holding Planned Parenthood accountable for illegally taking COVID relief funds that weren't meant for them. So I think we'll hear a lot about that and other pro-life victories in this administration. And then, you know, last year, again, he spoke really like a marcher, which he himself was actually prior to becoming vice president. Last year, he talked about how America is fundamentally a pro-baby, pro-family, pro-woman country, and I think we'll hear more of that today.
Jenny, thank you so much. Really nice to meet you and for having us here. And Marnie, there's going to be a lot more through the day. There will be an actual march, as the name suggests. So through the day, we'll cover different aspects of this.
All right, Joe, we'll continue to check in and stay warm until that cold starts to set in for you folks there in the nation's capital.
Start your year with healthy, restful sleep from Ashley. Our New Year's mattress sale makes it easy with Ashley Sleep starting at only $249 and no interest for 5 years when you shop in-store. That's top brand mattresses starting at only $37 a month. Better sleep starts at Ashley.
Welcome to the Lake of the Ozarks. Hi, I'm Jordan Salisbury, the owner and founder of the Salisbury Real Estate Team and Salisbury Property Management. Born and raised here at Lake of the Ozarks, I've loved growing up here, and I'm now raising my young family here.
I don't see any fish.
I've been selling the lake for almost 20 years, and we specialize in selling and managing lakefront property. So whether you're buying like a local, staying like a local, we want you to live like a local.
Elmer loves to giggle. Elmer's mommy taught him that laughing can help when you have a big feeling, like when you feel happy. Make sure to celebrate when you're happy and laugh it out. Love your mind.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Vibe O'Clock. Weird news.
Watch Vibe O'Clock weekdays at 9:30 on Ozarks First Plus.
Men. Coolest thing ever.
We are two men talking about a handbag.
Out of this world. Testing out driverless police cars. This new...
You know what? You're right. I did it. Let me just get in. I'll put the cuffs on myself. Vibe started weird, ended weird.
We're going to continue.
it's going to get really cold after the snow leaves. Salt does not work below 20 degrees. You will not see us out much at night simply because it's going to be too cold to make any progress.
All right, a lot we're following for you this hour. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marnie Hughes in Chicago. Let's start with some breaking news, and that's the 230 million Americans from Texas through the Midwest and the Northeast getting ready for a catastrophic winter storm. Crippling ice and snow, widespread snow on the table, including a potential nor'easter. Forecasters expect widespread travel disruptions as major U.S. airlines are issuing travel waivers already due to the crippling ice storm. They're bracing for flight cancellations and delays throughout the weekend, so make sure you're checking those apps. We have crews at the airports across the country, and we'll have the latest on the storm's path coming up and folks getting ready for it. Despite all this bitter cold, protesters still out in Minneapolis monitoring the ice operations. There are hundreds of businesses across that state today that are closed, part of an economic blackout to protest the immigration crackdown there.
Today, the Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that Armstrong was arrested for allegedly playing a key role in organizing the coordinated attacks in City's Church in St. Paul. She's been charged with conspiracy to deprive rights, which is a federal crime. Is this right under the law, and is it the right thing to do? Joining me now, two people from the area, Minnesota Republican Party Chair Alex Plekish and Minnesota attorney and political commentator Abu Amara. It's good to have you both. Mr. Amara, is this a good accusation in your mind or no?
Well, first, Chris, thanks for having me. To me, this is not about actually what happened. It's about who decides. In Minnesota, we've got trespass laws. This is completely, we're able to address this in the state of Minnesota, states all across the country have trespass laws. If this is something that the prosecutors decide to do here in Minnesota, they should absolutely do that. But if they don't, they won't. This is not a matter for the federal government to get involved on what is seemingly a simple trespass case. And remember, Nikema Levy-Pounce is a civil rights lawyer. She knows civil disobedience. She knows prosecution. She understands the consequences of certain actions. This, to me, is absolute overkill by the federal government.
Quick follow. Putting jurisdiction to the side, that's smart. You're a well-trained lawyer, obviously. But assuming that there is color of authority under federal law as well, what do you think of the legal argument that, hey, this is a protected place of worship and you're not supposed to do this and you were not invited in? Is that enough?
Chris, let's be honest. If there weren't 3,000 ICE agents on the ground here in Minneapolis, do you think the federal government would be prosecuting this case? Absolutely not. You have to zoom out and understand the context in which this happened. Of course, I'm not sitting here to justify or explain potential trespass issues. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm simply saying is understand how this is being maliciously prosecuted in this moment, given where we are with thousands of ICE agents on the ground.
This is a political prosecution, not about the law, Mr. Plekish. How do you refute that?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm sitting in a hotel room on the West Coast. I'm at a meeting, so glad I could step out for that. What I would say is the answer just given was a classic redirect. It didn't answer the question that you asked. What I would say is what happened at this church was not a peaceful protest. These activists stormed this church. They were intimidating worshipers, including children. And no one has the right to shut down religious worship, no matter how loud their political cause. And since Nikema, since she was saying that she was invited in, it's very clear that she was not. In fact, that church issued a letter subsequent to that would clearly said that she was not invited in, and lead pastor was pretty clear about that. He called it a jarring disruption.
Let's go down the road of metaphor, though, to Mr. Amara's point. If this arrest is about the overall tenor and political responses to the situation, what do you make, Mr. Plekish, of sending the VP there, which looks like a de-escalation move, right? And then he doesn't meet with the governor or the mayor. How do you feel about that messaging?
Well, for one, he didn't invite me either. I didn't know he was going to be in my own home state. I don't know if they reached out or they didn't reach out, but the VP went there to tone the rhetoric down.
They did not reach out.
Okay, well, that's I can't explain why they did or didn't. They weren't in that area, and he went there basically to tone down the rhetoric and make the point of the administration. He came to Minnesota to lower the temperature, not to inflame it. And I would say that the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis have done nothing but inflame with their rhetoric and caused a lot of this chaos. Governor Walz continues to peddle misinformation. He fans the fears and the chaos instead of calming tension. So that's what I see. And I think the vice president was there just to make the case of the administration.
Mr. Abu, I wish this were one-sided. Walz really's got to back off on the hot rhetoric. But we're looking at a man on the screen right now as Vice President of the United States who immediately said an ICE agent had done nothing wrong when he pulled his gun and shot a young mother in the head for hitting him or bumping into him with her car. And then today he said, the 5-year-old thing looked bad at first. I'm a dad. I got a 5-year-old. But it turns out they really didn't have anything else to do. And if you didn't do it this way, then anybody who has a kid has amnesty from law. Does that sound like de-escalation to you, Abu?
Well, absolutely not. It's not. Let's be honest. This is what happened. J.D. Vance is a very smart guy. The Republicans realized if you're using a 5-year-old as bait and then you have a 5-year-old do a perp walk, it's not going to look good. And so people understand. So they said, hey, we got to solve this problem. They sent the vice president to Minnesota to try to own the news cycle and try to muddy the waters on this issue. That's as simple as fact. I don't think there could be any debate about that. And you saw it in the positioning of the vice president. If the vice president wanted to solve this problem, phone call number one is to call the people involved, Chris, and that's exactly what you said earlier. The fact that you would come to Minnesota, come to Minneapolis, and not call the mayor of Minneapolis or invite them into a meeting shows you're not serious about solving the problem. You're trying to mitigate against a narrative that people are seeing on TV and saying, that is unacceptable.
I'll tell you the weird thing about this for me. And by the way, Mr. Plekish, I want to thank you for stepping out of the meeting and giving us your time. And it's good to it's good to have you too, Abu. I appreciate it, especially given your intimacy, both of you, with the state, with the city, with the communities. I'll tell you what's weird about this. You know who would have met with the mayor? You know who would have met with the governor? Donald John Trump. Yeah. That's who would have done it. And that's what's weird about this to me. And I wonder, look, as a little bit of a sidebar, I wonder what this says about how Vance isn't Trump. And I know the president is elsewhere and he has but he would take the meeting. Why? Because he knows that when he goes in the room as president of the United States, people are going to be different. And there's an opportunity in that. That's not the way they played it here. I don't understand why, but thank you for your perspective on the same. Mr. Plekish, Mr. Amara, to both of you, be well. We'll talk again.
Are you all being held to an unfair standard? If so, what is it, and what standard should you be held to?
It's good to see you tonight. Thanks for having me. As far as the standard, law enforcement should always be held to a high standard. The U.S. Border Patrol, absolutely we should be held to a high standard, and the reason for that is we are a high-performing organization. I think the disconnect there, though, with the media is they're not holding us to any standard because they have no standards, or at least most of them. And by what I mean by that is when you take a snippet or a few words that are spoken and spread that as gospel without any context, as you just said, and it ends up being a lie, and then the news media does not go back and correct that lie, then they become the problem. And that's what we're seeing here in Minneapolis is oftentimes they take things out of context. Sometimes it seems purposely, and it ends up causing us, law enforcement, who are already held to high standards, a lot more problems.
Okay. And understandably, you all have faced an enormous amount of danger. And I appreciate that. I've been out in these crowds before, especially during BLM, and then spent a lot of time in these crowds overseas. I want to play for you the vice president talking about the use of chemical munitions, tear gas is what we would commonly call it, on protesters. Here you go.
We don't employ the kind of tactics that are only necessary when violence is committed against officers. That is these guys' directive, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Okay, only necessary when violence is committed. This clip has gone around the world. At one point today, I looked up, I saw it playing on 3 different cable news channels of you personally throwing a tear gas canister. Take a look.
I'm in the gas. Get back. Gas is coming.
Gas on Bill. Gas on Bill. We're filling you. Gas on Bill, Trevino. Gas on Bill.
You just gassed me. To you, what does that clip show?
Sure. Well, what J.D. Vance, the vice president, said, he said it very well. If you look at that clip, what you see directly behind me are Border Patrol agents that had just been assaulted. One of them was spit on. As that individual that spit on a Border Patrol agent was taken into custody, several other suspects came in and tried to intervene physically, both body checking Border Patrol agents as well as physically wrestling with Border Patrol agents to try to free the original suspect that spit. That, with a chaotic situation, objects being thrown, agents being boxed in by vehicles, it was probably past the time for myself to deploy that less lethal munition.
Yep.
And that term less lethal is just that, less lethal. If we didn't have less lethal, what would we be left with? I think that's a question that a lot of these media, and they seem to leave that out. Do they want fisticuffs and guns? Or do we want to use less lethal to keep people safe, to keep our officers safe? And that's what we did in that particular instance. And guess what? It worked.
Yep,
the crowd dispersed.
Does.
I've
been in enough tear gas. I've been in enough tear gas, Commander. I understand that.
Sure, millions of people trust Vistaprint to print business cards they love.
Yep.
But did you know we also print their t-shirts? And postcards. And signs. And custom merch. That water bottle is engraved, where we print with lasers. At Vistaprint, we print your brand on banners so your customers can notice you. Stickers so they can remember you. And everything else your business needs to keep them coming back to you. Right now, new customers get 20% off at Vistaprint.com. Because if you need it, we print it.
Welcome to the Lake of the Ozarks. Hi, I'm Jordan Salisbury, the owner and founder of the Salisbury Real Estate Team and Salisbury Property Management. Born and raised here at Lake of the Ozarks, I've loved growing up here, and I'm now raising my young family here.
I don't see any fish.
I've been selling the lake for almost 20 years, and we specialize in selling and managing lakefront property. So whether you're buying like a local, staying like a local, we want you to live like a local.
Americans rely on The Hill for politics and policy news more than any other digital politics publication. Inside the Beltway, it's an essential read for lawmakers and influencers. And beyond the Capitol, The Hill's trusted content reaches millions of people like you. So next time you want to share the big story out of D.C., make sure it's from The Hill. TheHill.com is America's most shared political news brand for a reason. Trusted, credible, nonpartisan. Visit TheHill.com today.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
This is Ryan Wedding. He's now in custody in Mexico. The former Olympian from Canada facing a slew of drug charges. The FBI chief comparing him to Pablo Escobar and El Chapo. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, talking on X, saying just moments ago, the alleged Olympian turned kingpin is back in the U.S. She credited President Trump's law and order leadership with his capture. Wedding is accused of running an international drug trafficking ring that shipped tons of cocaine into Southern California from Mexico. He's been on the most wanted list since March. Former Canadian Olympian, as I mentioned, on the most wanted list. There was a $15 million reward for information that led to this moment, his arrest and his conviction. The FBI also releasing some images of a multi-million-dollar motorcycle collection they believe belongs to Ryan Wedding. FBI Director Kash Patel, as I mentioned, is going to be giving some remarks on this and talking more about the arrest. So we're monitoring that news conference, and we'll bring it to you once it starts. Joining us now, Newsnation national security contributor Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent. I mean, this is like a Hollywood movie script, right? It's wild. Former Olympian turned drug pen. Connect the dots for folks who haven't followed his story and the manhunt for him.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Marty. I think you and I actually talked when his original indictment came out, maybe about a year or so ago about him. And yeah, so he got his start after the Olympics in sort of the drug dealing business. And he started pretty small, actually, with marijuana. And that's why he was ultimately arrested for in Canada and then came into the U.S. and essentially was, I guess, broke by that time. And then that is when he started getting into the drug business. He was actually connected with Iranian drug networks, Russian drug networks, and then started becoming connected to the Mexican cartels. And originally, he was mostly transporting a lot of it. So we're talking 60 tons of cocaine a year into Southern California, as you mentioned before. And that's really what he was doing. He then obviously left California and sought sort of refuge in Mexico, and I think was kind of living under the watchful arm of the Sinaloa cartel, which is that cartel that El Chapo used to be the head of.
The grand jury, Tracy, indictment accuses him of the death of a federal witness who was supposedly set to testify against him. That witness was shot at a restaurant after authorities said he placed a bounty on his head. Talk about the charges that he faces and what kind of cooperation the FBI will be looking for or need from other countries when it comes to where these crimes occurred.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Marty, that seems to be a lot of his unraveling, to be honest, is that death of Jonathan Acevedo Garcia, who was someone who he actually met in prison, gosh, almost 15 years ago, and he was killed, assassinated in Colombia, and he was going to be a cooperating witness. And that's really where a lot of this started to unravel. So he's looking at, obviously, murder charges. He's looking at attempted murder charges. Obviously, he's looking at drug trafficking charges, as well as just drug charges themselves. But the death penalty will probably have to come off of the table in this case because Mexico won't usually extradite if it remains on the table.
How did they get him? Are you hearing any details? And we're waiting for Kash Patel to elaborate.
Live from Ozarks First Plus, a rapid rundown of the local headlines, stories shared, viral videos, plus the features and facts before they hit your feed. You're watching The Daily Scroll with me, Bailey Stroll.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode. I feel like I say this every day, but it's because we go live every single day. And we have fun doing it, okay? Every afternoon or whenever you get to watch us. You know, you can just binge it if you want. We'll talk about that later, what we've been binging. But if you want to binge The Daily Scroll, you can do that on Ozarks First Plus. Today, we are talking about what we're watching, our little screen time segment. Jay and I have been watching the same show, and we didn't even know.
We didn't even coordinate it.
Just a few. Well, I did talk about it last week.
Yeah.
That I wanted to watch it.
And I'll be honest.
And I followed through.
I had a moment the other day where I was like, I don't have anything to talk about on Wednesday when we talk about what we're watching.
You're
Should
welcome.
talk about that one show on Netflix. I guess I can do that.
You're going to try it out?
I'll try it out.
I binged it over the weekend, which I usually don't do. I'm usually like a one episode and then go to bed and start again the next day. Nope, on Saturday, I think I laid on the couch for 3 hours and watched His and Hers. So we're going to be breaking that down later on. Shout out to Parker Paget because he's the one that told me to watch it. And it does have, it follows a news reporter, anchor,
Is that
lots
why you
of new
suggested
stuff.
Because there's a blonde anchor girl.
Well, yes, but no, I don't care about her necessarily. But she does, they do have a lot of discussion about, like little acronyms and things that we use. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's realistic, but they got the script right, at least when they talk about
I'm still waiting for a shout out for, I want to hear him talk about SOTVOs. That never comes up.
Satvo Sats.
Yeah.
Vosats.
If that came up in that show, I would be shocked.
They did say package. They're like, okay, we got to get this package done, or we're
Sure,
going to go edit
sure,
this
sure.
package. So I'm like, okay, well, at least they know that.
getting
News
somewhere.
package. Okay, so other than what we're watching, you got to stick around to the end for that. We're going to have a little bit of an airport update. My favorite thing to talk about here on this show is the Springfield Branson National Airport, which I feel like the people that live here probably don't care about it as much as I do. But, you know, it's an exciting time for the Springfield Branson National Airport, and I'm here for it. Maybe because I live close by, maybe because, well, I don't frequent it that much, but I like it. And then a library book returned decades later. You hear these stories every once in a while. This is a pretty good one. So we'll talk about that, which book it was, and the little post-it that came along with that return. And then just a very silly cow, okay? We'll just leave it at that. Well, it's evolving, I think. Cows are evolving. They can use hand tools now. Or at
I
least
almost
this
made
one.
that the super, but I thought that was a little clickbait.
I
don't
wondered
think
if you would.
I don't think that's what's happening in that video.
We'll let the viewers decide, but I
Sure.
think there's something to be said
Maybe.
about this cow using some hand tools. They might be able to work on the farm in different ways rather than just their pure strength. I don't know in the future. Okay, let's get into the local thread. Springfield Branson National Airport posting on social media how it started and how it's going. Because, you know, they give a little update every week about this big terrazzo project, replacing the flooring project, which, if you've been around, if you've watched the show, you know we've had this on many times because the carpet is now gone and the terrazzo tile is here to stay for decades to come.
Do you think we've talked about this or Route 66 more?
They're probably tied at this point. Actually, this might be
Your two
num-
special
the number
interests.
one. Yeah. And the bear in California and maybe the
true.
monkeys in St. Louis. I was actually looking.
Are we going to get an update on that?
I was looking for an update today. Couldn't find one.
We still don't know.
The latest thing is we don't even know if they actually existed.
Were they all AI?
Because it might have been AI. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, no.
Maybe
Oh,
I'll try
no.
to find one tomorrow, but I feel like people might have been so embarrassed by that
That they didn't even
that they've just let it
talk
kind
about
of
it.
slip under the rug.
Speaking of rugs.
I was just going to say that. Oh, my goodness. Speaking of rugs, yes, I don't know what to do with my carpet tiles that I got from the Springfield Branson National Airport. The flight of the three, the grass, the rock, and the water. They are in my guest bedroom, stacked up under the bed. Still don't know what I'm going to do with them. But there are exciting developments happening with the massive renovation project that's happening at the Springfield Branson National Airport. So the waves in the terminal's lobby officially done. And you can see there how many other projects they're almost done with, have already completed. The bridge replacement's done. You'll notice that only if you take a flight when you're walking from the terminal onto the flight. You'll notice brand new, which is pretty nice.
It's cute with the little planes getting to their destination.
Yeah, I think this is a cute graphic. And then the flooring project, almost done. The terminal airport expansion looks like it's almost done. I think that was more laying concrete to eventually expand the terminal. And then what's the parking lot expansion? I think that's, well, you can see there, it is almost done. I think 200 more parking spaces have either recently opened or are about to open. I've never had a problem parking. So, I guess I'm glad they added them, but again, that's what makes Springfield's Branson's airport amazing. You don't have a problem finding a spot. You might have to walk a little bit, but there's no problem finding a spot in the long term. So the terrazzo tile is essentially complete all out throughout the lobby. They now have that wave design, which is 13 different colors. They've been laying this down. It's walking from the terminal entrance all the way to the security checkpoint. And they said that mother of pearl is included in this terrazzo mixture, so it shines in the sunlight. I like this. 5 months into the flooring project, they've got 5 months to go. So I feel like that airplane on that graphic was a little too far ahead. I don't know.
They're getting there.
Shouldn't it be halfway? I don't know. But They said that it makes us excited to see what the terminal will look like come summer.
So are these some of the pictures you were talking about?
Yes, there it is. Look at that. It looks great, and it looks almost exactly like what they had told us it was going to look like. When they showed that little... I lost it, too, on my phone. But they showed the little rendering, and then they compared it to the rendering in their latest Facebook post. And it's almost exactly. And I don't know. I like it. I feel like we're entering a new era with Springfield Branson National Airport, and I think their marketing about this is what I've loved. I love watching some good marketing and them selling the tiles with the carpet tiles with the proceeds going to the Regional Arts
and keeping
Council.
the community involved is
yes, the transparency. You have to love that as a journalist. Okay, well, that's it for the local thread today. Let us know if there's anything I'm missing out there, fun stories that I may have missed, and we'll try to get them in. But next, a library book returned after 46 years in South Dakota. Came with a little Post-it. You can probably guess what it says, but we'll leave that for after we come back.
Oh, now this guy's going that way. Now I'm getting the lay of the land.
Valets can be a big test for a young homeowner turning into their parents.
There's an overflow lot somewhere in the vicinity.
If the garage is full, they go to the auxiliary.
He said if the garage is full, they go to the overflow lot.
I heard him. I was right here. Let's just stand quietly.
I bet you guys have driven some great cars, huh?
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home and auto when you bundle with
I
us.
think you might have brought the wrong car. We had the red convertible.
So I'm sensing a bit of tension between you two.
Well, our heart attack was a wake-up call, but I still feel like we could do more to avoid another one.
Come on. I started eating kale. Kale. And I take statins.
Right, and we're hitting the gym, but I'm worried it's not enough. I just want him to ask our doctor about Repatha.
Normally, I don't take sides, but you should listen to your heart.
Repatha plus a statin dramatically lowers LDL-C by 63% and drops the risk of having a heart attack by 27%. Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
You were right. Our LDL-C is in a better place.
And so are we.
Listen to your heart. Ask your doctor about Repatha.
Oh, now this guy's going that way. Now I'm getting the lay of the land.
Valets can be a big test for a young homeowner turning into their parents.
There's an overflow lot somewhere in the vicinity.
If the garage is full, they go to the auxiliary.
He said if the garage is full, they go to the overflow lot.
I heard him. I was right here. Let's just stand quietly.
I bet you guys have driven some great cars, huh?
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home and auto when you bundle with
I
us.
think you might have brought the wrong car. We had the red convertible.
Well, you know the saying, better late than never, and I guess that's the case for the South Dakota Library that just got a book back after it was checked out 46 years ago. The person who checked it out finally returned it with a Post-it note on it that said, better late than never, smiley face. Luckily, this person is not getting charged because I think this particular La Mesa County Library did away with their late fees. But they did take to social media, of course, and post this post. Sorry it's so late. And it looks old. I know this is 1980. Looks a lot older than that.
Looks faded.
Yeah, it does. And I missed the title there. I wanted to look up exactly what this book was and why it was, I guess it got shoved in the back of a cabinet or something. But hey, good on this person to return it.
Just once I want one of these stories to end with them actually like charging them. Being like,
I know, how much would it be if
you
it's like
actually owe
15 cents a day?
A couple thousands of dollars.
15 cents a day for 46 years? I can't do the math that fast.
Because it always just comes in and they're like, yeah, it's fine. We just wanted to have
I
it
know.
back.
I think, honestly, this story has made it all the way to Springfield, Missouri. So I guess
fun.
the publicity pays for the late
So it all
fees.
works out.
I did do this when I took a book
You
when I
stole
was
a book?
from my school library.
You gotta stop
Didn't
admitting to crimes
realize
on the
it. Didn't realize it for a very long time. I think I was probably in first grade. And up until I graduated, I was afraid that they were going to figure out it was me and they were going to, for some reason, hold back my diploma or something. But they didn't. And I think I still have that book, or maybe I sold it in a garage sale. But
What book? Do you know what book it was?
It was something about a mule. I know that. It was a kid's book.
Okay.
For sure. I was very young. But I love those little slip-in things that you stamp with the date on it. I'm sad that we have gone the technology route with the library. I'm sure the people that work at the library like that, but
You just like stamping things?
I love the way that they did it, so you could see the last time it was checked out and the time before that and how long they kept it and who it was, and just like the textbooks at school, you could see who had it the year before you.
Wait, so are we not going to have these stories someday? Because it's just in a computer algorithm who has the book?
Yeah, they're just going to have to screenshot their computer screen. Oh, it's 46 years old.
It's really old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's sad.
I wonder when all that went by the wayside. But 1980,
They're still doing it.
does not feel like that long ago to me.
You weren't
but
alive.
I guess it was. I wasn't. Even my oldest sister wasn't alive. But I just... I don't know.
Yeah.
We always have stories like this,
This comes
though.
through every little
Every
while.
few months. And it always
It's one of the
makes the
classic
rounds.
kickers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Glad the book made it back. If you have any library books sitting around at home,
Bring them back.
bring them back.
Make a good
cares?
story. Keep the libraries in the news. Speaking of good kickers, I think a lot of folks will see this on the 5 p.m. news tonight if they get to it later on. Cows are evolving, okay? Or at least a 13-year-old cow in Vienna, Austria. This cow has proven that she might be the sharpest tool in the shed. She is able to use a broom to scratch her own back. And by the talking with the owner, these news outlets have, she's actually developed this skill over the years. I think she's been doing this. She's been using the tool for 9 years now. So she can flip it around. Depends on the way she picks it up. She can use it as a brush. She can use it as a poker. I just...
Bailey, this is utterly ridiculous.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Waiting for that. I don't know. This cow is extremely cute. It makes me think, what else could we have them be doing?
Yeah, I liked earlier when you were like, they're going to be helping on the farm. That's
They
just
could.
scratching itself.
She could start sweeping up her own hay out of her stall.
I saw no sweeping. I only saw scratching, which I think is a pretty inherent animalistic impulse.
Well, it actually makes me feel bad for all the cows out there that aren't getting their itches scratched.
That's so true.
They're just walking around all day
Give
long,
more
never getting a
cows
little
brooms.
itch or scratch. Ugh, breaks my heart. But I mean, in my defense, to your lack of faith, the skill has left scientists from the Veterinary University of Vienna flabbergasted, they say. It's way more than you would expect for any cow that belongs to a farm.
Wow. Take that, farm cows.
And there you have it. I know. They're not expected to do much, but look at that. It just...
I do think tool using is a very rare animal ability.
And yeah. It makes me think about the scratches. Sometimes I go to somebody's house and I see how they scratch their dog. And I'm like, I don't think you're doing that right. It doesn't look satisfying for them. Get where they want it to be. I saw a video the other day of a dog that had an ear infection. And the person said, well, that you need to wipe out the inside of their ears with a tissue or something. And she goes, oh, I thought that the dog wouldn't like it. But she got a little tissue and started scratching around in there to clean the inside of the ears. And the dog immediately melted and started moaning. And I'm like, you haven't scratched the inside of your dog's ear in its entire life? That's the number one spot that my dogs like it.
Well, yeah, your dogs don't really have other places to pet.
Well, yeah, and I can get the good scratches on them hairless babies. But it makes me feel bad for all of the dogs that you go to scratch them and you can't even hardly reach down to their skin through the fur.
Yeah,
They're never getting a good scratch.
They need a broom and to be trained how to scratch themselves. That's what we've learned today.
This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. All the dogs and cows that are not getting their good scratches. Okay, next up is our screen time, what we're watching segment. So we talked about it last week. I wanted to watch the show called His and Hers on Netflix. New limited series, kind of a crime drama that involves a news anchor, news reporter. And Parker Padgett told me about it. I said, okay, let's do it. So my husband and I watched it. We ended up watching it for 3 hours on Saturday afternoon. And then I've watched a couple of other ones, but they're oldies. One I like, one I don't like. We're going to get into it next.
So I'm sensing a bit of tension between you two.
Well, our heart attack was a wake-up call, but I still feel like we could do more to avoid another one.
Come on. I started eating kale. Kale. And I take statins.
Right, and we're hitting the gym, but I'm worried it's not enough. I just want him to ask our doctor about Repatha.
Normally, I don't take sides, but you should listen to your heart.
Repatha plus a statin dramatically lowers LDL-C by 63% and drops the risk of having a heart attack by 27%. Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
You were right. Our LDL-C is in a better place.
And so are we.
Listen to your heart. Ask your doctor about Repatha.
Welcome to the Lake of the Ozarks. Hi, I'm Jordan Salisbury, the owner and founder of the Salisbury Real Estate Team and Salisbury Property Management. Born and raised here at Lake of the Ozarks, I've loved growing up here, and I'm now raising my young family here.
I don't see any fish.
I've been selling the lake for almost 20 years, and we specialize in selling and managing lakefront property. So whether you're buying like a local, staying like a local, we want you to live like a local.
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I feel that I'm not getting the attention that I need, and it's a lot built up in my chest. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
Okay, what have we been up to on the streaming channels?
You're already Googling John Bernthal.
I'm looking up John Bernthal because I could have sworn...
He's in a lot of stuff.
I could have sworn he was in The Bear.
Oh,
Turns out he's not.
Okay, yeah.
It's a lookalike.
Because every time he gets angry in the show, I'm like, that's Frank Castle, because that's the Punisher.
Frank Castle from The Punisher. Haven't seen that.
He's also the brother in The Accountant and The Accountant 2. He's really good in The Accountant 2. I saw that last year.
I was qualifying these. Oh, no, he is in The Bear. I see it. I scrolled over it. I was right. Yes.
And then Shane in the newsroom told me that he plays Shane on The Walking Dead.
Oh, yes. So The Walking Dead, for sure. I would categorize those as boys' shows.
Sure. Yeah.
But now he's in something for girls and boys to enjoy.
Yeah, it's just a
Are you enjoying His and Hers?
It's a complicated relationship.
You think you're too smart for it?
I think I'm too smart for it. I take notes as I'm going on my theories and thoughts and how far I am.
Maybe you're just taking it a little too
seriously. And it was I think it was about 10 minutes into the third episode that I went, oh, they just told us the answer. Mm-hmm. I just solved it. I know the whole thing now. And you told me I'm basically right. So
I do that a lot with movies. They're shorter. You get to the point faster, I think, with movies. And I kind of ruin it for my husband because I'm like, oh, yeah, I figured it out.
Oh,
this one threw me for a loop, if at the very least in the last few minutes. So you have
the start of episode 3. I got the pieces, and then halfway through episode 3, they said a line that made me go, "Oh, that's the last puzzle piece I needed. This whole thing came together. It's perfect. I'm done."
Well, let me tell the people out there who haven't seen it, I guess, what it's about.
Oh, yeah, that's fair, too.
So these two estranged spouses are from a small town outside of Atlanta. One of them is a reporter in Atlanta, but had taken time off because of a family death. And, well, it was their child that had died. And I guess she just up and went away, and left him in the small town. Well, then there's a murder in the small town.
Say it ain't so.
So she comes back. She's like, I need to get my job back because this blonde bee took it while I was gone for a year. She needs to get her job back, so she's going to go back to her hometown, report on this murder, essentially solve it, and then, chaos ensues.
And like I said earlier, you don't know anything about a blonde anchor girl, right?
Nah, nobody that would steal anybody's job. No, I didn't. I didn't steal anybody's job here. I earned it.
I guess I have enjoyed that, like, there's like a murder mystery at the center of it, but then there's so many side things going on that at first I thought were just random and were just like extra spice to make it
That's what I like about this.
It's coming together a little bit.
It reminds me of Severance, where every word they say, every little piece that they do is important. And that's what I like in an era of people explaining the plot a million times, talking about the plot a little too much because people are on their phones.
Yeah. Well,
Matt Damon was just talking about that.
I talked about Knives Out movies the other day, and I don't think you knew what I was talking about. But this has some of the fun little elements you see in Knives Out movies. I would say done worse, but yeah,
done worse. Okay,
but there's little pieces of that if you really need that itch scratched.
I'm not usually like a true crime type of person, but I like this because there is so much happening outside of the actual crime, even though it is all centered around the crime. But
we also talked about John Bernthal. Tessa Thompson is also very famous. I know her from Thor movies, but she's in lots of things.
She's the first. That's the first time I've seen her.
Yeah,
in
she was
anything.
In, like, Men in Black and Creed
Tessa
and stuff.
Thompson.
Yeah,
I mean, she's great.
She's cool.
They both did a good job, and they both had good chemistry, and that's what Parker Paget had told me to go watch it because of that.
That's what you really need.
And of course, it has the newsy element into it. Can't forget that. Which you don't get very often. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see us represented, in the media.
Yeah. The media never has anything to do with the news.
Well, when they do, it's like
I look on
the
TV and we're nowhere.
Oh, come on. We're always in like a little montage of something, to move the plot forward, but never the main character.
You should go watch Superman. There's a weirdly
Touché.
large amount of news stuff.
Well,
to the point I rewatched it recently, and that's one of my main complaints is that
there's too much news?
There's moments where everybody in the show stops what they're doing to watch the news together. The news.
Yeah.
And now it's focused on you. So
yeah. Hey, I mean, I usually do take the attention away. No, I'm just kidding. And then the only other things, I started watching Fallout last night because, back up. Started watching Tell Me Lies for the second time, which is a show about college students and their decision making and essentially where it leads them. But too much romance, if you know what I mean, for myself. Not enough. I mean, they are not moving the plot along very quickly when every 10 minutes they're getting intimate, if you know what I mean. I can't watch that. I'm sorry. It does nothing for me. I don't want to see it. Just get to the point. Unless that's the point. I know this is based on a book, but it just goes to show I tried to watch it twice. I can't do it.
I always mix that one up. There's another one based on a book, but I think I heard somebody read that book and was not impressed, and then there was another book similar to it that they liked more.
I heard there's a huge twist at like the end of the second or third season. I've heard about it many times, so I'm trying to get through it.
But, yeah.
And then I even told my husband, we can just fast forward through those parts, and maybe the storyline is good. No. Got to the same exact part that we were before.
I hate when people say, you should watch this show. By season 4, it gets good. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not going there. I'm not going to make it that far.
And then Fallout, just briefly, I started watching that last night. Only saw the first episode. I know they have a new season out, so I'm glad I'm not going to have to wait around for the second season. But I also know I'm late to the game, so I won't dwell on it. But so far, so good. I really like it. But you told me that is actually based on a game?
Yes, it's based on a video game. There's a whole game series that's been around for a long time of Fallout Fallout New Vegas is the one I think of first. But yeah, there's a bunch of them where you run around a big post-apocalyptic world and do stuff, and there's a lot of story and characters that people love. So I'm glad the show's good.
I like it's lighthearted, even though there's some gore and killing and stuff.
Too seriously.
Yeah, it doesn't take itself too
Which
seriously.
is a different vibe for something from like a post-apocalyptic.
Yes, because I usually don't watch those type of shows because they are a little too serious, and it makes me think, oh my gosh, if I was in that world, I would be so stressed, and it stresses me out, and I don't like to watch those things. This is funny. You can laugh through the most gory parts.
You can just say pluribus if you want. You don't have to beat around the bush.
Yeah, pluribus. That's definitely. But Severance, a show out there, and it's lighthearted. You get some comedic relief through the worst serious parts. Okay, well, that's going to do it for us. Another episode of the Daily Scroll done. We'll be back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And I'll be live tonight on the news with my serious face and my serious voice. We'll see you then.
So I'm sensing a bit of tension between you two.
Well, our heart attack was a wake-up call, but I still feel like we could do more to avoid another one.
Come on. I started eating kale. Kale. And I take statins.
Right, and we're hitting the gym, but I'm worried it's not enough. I just want him to ask our doctor about Repatha.
Normally, I don't take sides, but you should listen to your heart.
Repatha plus a statin dramatically lowers LDL-C by 63% and drops the risk of having a heart attack by 27%. Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site.
You were right. Our LDL-C is in a better place.
And so are we.
Listen to your heart. Ask your doctor about Repatha.
Welcome to the Lake of the Ozarks. Hi, I'm Jordan Salisbury, the owner and founder of the Salisbury Real Estate Team and Salisbury Property Management. Born and raised here at Lake of the Ozarks, I've loved growing up here, and I'm now raising my young family here.
I don't see any fish.
I've been selling the lake for almost 20 years, and we specialize in selling and managing lakefront property. So whether you're buying like a local, staying like a local, we want you to live like a local.
Right, this is going to be a multi-day event with the storm lasting into the weekend and the Marnie record cold continuing probably the rest of next week. So that's going to lock the snow and ice